What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of the Always Compete Seahawks podcast. My name is Sam. Today I'll be doing something a little interesting. Now, when I was sitting down, today's my off day from work, and I was sitting down and I was thinking, I got some time to record a podcast. What could I potentially record today? And what I decided was, hey, the off season is coming up soon. It's around the corner. And the Seahawks are currently negative in cap. I believe we are currently negative 30 million in legitimate usable cap space, which means that there will be a lot of moves that need to be made to free up space to re-sign players, perhaps sign outside players. A lot of space will be have to open. And today I figured I would do a little cut, keep, or trade or extend or whatever for a bunch of key players that might not fit where the Seahawks currently are. I will be using the over the cap salary cap simulator for this, which is very helpful when you're doing something like this, and you can really see how much money you can keep, how much money you can really move around. So we will be breaking all that down. We'll be talking about a ton of players. Let's get started here. So right now, over the cap currently has the Seahawks listed at about, yeah, negative 27 million in actual cap space. Now next year, that number is projected to be 169 million because we have a ton of players coming off the books next year. Gino, DK, Tyler Lockett, Draymond Jones, who else? I believe Noah Fant is off the books next year. We have a lot of guys who will be getting off of the salary cap at the end of next year. But right now, we are paying all those guys, and most of those guys are really expensive. So we are going to look and see, hey, how much money could we save? How much money could we move around? Who do we want to bring back? All that type of stuff. And we're going to start with maybe the obvious picks for guys that need to get cut or guys that we perhaps need to keep. We're just going to look at the most um, probable look at all these things. Let's start with the one that everybody's expecting, whether he retires or whether he is cut. Tyler Lockett, I can almost guarantee will not be on the team next season. So we will cut him, and that currently moves us up to 10 million, negative 10 in legitimate cap. Tyler Lockett's contract that he restructured last year was basically done to ensure that his money will be off the books. They basically put a ton of guaranteed money into this year, and they made it really easy to get off of this contract if they need to. Cutting Tyler Lockett will save a ton of money. You won't be able to trade him. His production dipped. He's aging, and he's really expensive. No one would want to take that on a trade. His money will be off the team, whether he is cut or whether he retires. His money will be off. That is the first really obvious move. Obviously, Tyler Lockett, a Seahawks legend. He'll probably get his name in the Ring of Honor. Yeah, he's just not good enough right now to justify the amount of money that he's making. The next one that's pretty obvious to me, a signing that never really went anywhere. Draymond Jones will also be released. That would clear about $11 million dollars. Now we are now in the positives just from those two cuts. I mean, we're only $1 million in positive cap space, but regardless, all that stuff will get us into the positive range, which is really where we need to be, and we will keep clearing space with some other moves. I think another one that's pretty safe to say that a lot of Seahawks fans want, Noah Fant will be released as well. I think Noah Fant, when a lot of people saw his contract, they were really confused, and I think they were saying, "Oh, well, Ryan Grubb is going to have some big plan for the tight ends in his new scheme." We know how that worked. Noah Fant had a down year. Ryan Grubb is fired. A lot of that just did not pay off. Fant being off the team, being cut makes a lot of sense. It would save about $8 million dollars. We are now 10 million in cap space. And let's see what else we can keep doing here. Rayshawn Jenkins is another name that makes sense. He would save about $5 million dollars if we released him. Once again, just a guy that never really fit super well. He was a piece that just didn't really make sense. And frankly, now I think it's clear that we have to get his money off the books. Now, I think that's it for guys that cutting. Actually, no, I want to make one more cut. A guy that was actually pretty decent this year, but never really is going to be an impact player, and especially for the amount of money, doesn't really justify it. Roy Robertson Harris will get cut. That would save about $6 million off the cap. And one more move that we will make is cutting George Fant, who might just end up retiring anyways. Regardless, those are all the cuts we make, and we are now from -30 to +25 million in cap space. That's enough money to make some legitimate moves. Obviously, not something that would really make a huge splash, and it kind of restricts you. But regardless, that's good money. Let's see what we can work with here. Now we're gonna get a little interesting. Geno Smith and DK, two players that are extremely divisive, that are extremely controversial within the fan base. And it's really tough because both of these guys, their contracts end after next season. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? In my opinion, Geno Smith makes a ton of sense for an extension or renegotiation. um, you probably can say, hey, we'll throw on a year after this year, and we'll kick some money back to that year, and we'll open up some money this year because this cap number is currently 44 million. That's not necessarily the amount of money that like he's going to be just making, but that is his cap number regardless. So if we submit a restructure now, we're going to add a year. And okay, this is tough. This is tough. This is tough. I don't really know how to work a restructure. So let's say that we add a year and we turn some of his base salary into a signing bonus. Let's say we'll turn, I don't know, 10 million of his base salary into a signing bonus. Um, and we'll kick actually a lot of that money into next year. Yeah, so we'll turn that into 26. We'll turn his bonus into 26 million, and we will kick some of his other salaries into next year. So we'll say we'll take some of that bonus and we'll put it into his salary next year, which would probably be somewhere around I don't know, $25 million would be a safe number for me. And we'll take some of that salary also and we'll turn it into guaranteed salary. So if we do that, that would get us now up to 30 million. We brought down his cap number by about 6 or 7 million. Once again, the Seahawks, I'm sure, would be able to do that better than I did. Regardless, what I'm saying is that extending or restructuring Geno or renegotiating his current contract could open up probably somewhere in the range of 5 to 15 million, depending on what the Seahawks want to do. John Schneider doesn't really like kicking salary down the road, but he's done it more in recent years with guys like Quandre Diggs and Tyler Lockett. Regardless, forget the necessarily amount of money. I think extending or renegotiating with Geno Smith just flat out makes the most sense at this point. Now, the one that's really interesting is DK. Trade. Do you cut him? My stance on this is listen to trades. If you can't get a trade, keep them. If you can't get a trade, renegotiate. I think that DK is a guy that, when he's on, he's really on. And I feel like I feel like you want to give him a chance with another new OC, right? Maybe you say, well, oh, well, the common pattern here is that DK struggles regardless. I wouldn't say that's necessarily the case. I think with DK, you're looking at it. If you can get a trade done, right? Let's say this. We do a trade pre pre June 1st. You save about $11 million of cap space there. If you cut him, you would save about the same amount of money. If you were to cut him post June 1st, you would save about 18 million. So with the June 1st designation, you get about 18 million. So that's tough. That's really tough. And yes, that money can essentially become um that money, despite the fact that it's saying a post June 1st negotiation. I think that people will say, "Oh, well, that means that you can't use that money after June 1st. What's the point?" That money can be used immediately. It's just you will not see that salary cap number come in until June 1st. But in reality, that really doesn't make that much of a difference if you think about it, because teams can go over the cap with contracts, and it comes to a point where at a certain date, I believe it is June 1st, is when they do the salary bonuses and all that, and that's when the cap is enforced. Like the cap penalty, if you're over, you pay a penalty. Regardless, cutting June, if you were to cut or trade DK, a post June 1st designation does make the most sense. If you do want to restructure him, because you can technically restructure him, next year is a void year for DK. So his cap number is only 7 million. A void year, like we said, is a number that is a salary number that is non-existent. It's fake. He is just there. It's a way to kind of kick money around, make the contract look bigger, but he only is going to play 3 real years under that extension, even though on paper, technically, he has 3 void years after his contract ends, which means that that's essentially just fake years that is used to kick salary around. You could theoretically restructure DK, turn a lot of his base salary, which is currently somewhere around 16 million, and turn that into bonus. So if we want to say bring his number down to like 8 and kick the other 8 million to the curb, you could save about $8 million. And that would bring your 2028 number into the negatives, but that's because you'd now be paying the void years on DK. You'd now be paying that restructured years into 2028. Regardless, that doesn't really matter. I think restructuring DK makes the most sense. You have those void years so you can kick the money around. I think you may as well put them to use. Keep DK on the team. I think he is a really legit wide receiver. I don't know. I'm not ready to give up on DK, and I don't frankly think a lot of people would like what we would get back for DK. We might only get back a third because of his price and because his production hasn't been great, and because he does kind of have a reputation as a bit of a hothead, of a bit of a diva. So I think that all in all, that's really important to remember. Now, I think that that is pretty much the end of the moves. You could say like restructure Leonard Williams and you know do for instance bring his base salary down and turn it into some kind of bonus where you could open up a bunch of money there. I think all those things I will leave kind of up because no one's obviously saying get rid of Leonard Williams. I think that's the last move that we make as far as the roster. So you cut Tyler Lockett, Draymond Jones, Noah Fant, Rayshawn Jenkins, Roy Robertson Harris, and George Fant. You extend Gino to kick his money, and you restructure DK to kick his money back. And then everyone else stays. Once again, you could restructure some other guys. I'm not really going to get into that. Regardless, that currently leaves us at about $37 million in cap. And now we're going to kind of talk about guys that are free agents that we might want to bring back. Now, looking at this free agent list here, Laken Tomlinson, no, thank you. Jaron Reed, interesting. He had a great year. Most people don't really give him credit for how good of a year he had because he wasn't necessarily like a stat sheet stuffer. But regardless, Jaron Reed played a really effective season. 4.5 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, 45 total tackles. And his PFF numbers positively reflected that season that he had as well. I think that Jaron Reed very well could be a guy that you want to bring back. I think we should get the most obvious name out of the way right now. It's going to be Ernest Jones. It's going to be Ernest Jones. You're going to want to extend him. I believe the number that I have heard in general revolves somewhere around the $8 million range. If per year, I think a 3 year, $24 million deal is the most logical thing to do. So if we just do a straight deal like that, that obviously brings our cap down, but we bring Ernest Jones back on a 3 year, roughly $24 million contract. I think that's about where he's going to fall. Um, and I think that's where we sit right now with Ernest Jones. I think he will probably be extended before the offseason starts. I think that's what both sides want, and I think they will get it done. Now, kind of looking to the rest of these free agents, there's no one really there who's interesting. Um, there are a couple RFAs that you probably want to bring back, like Josh Jobe is a guy that you probably want to bring back on like an RFA tender worth like around 3 million. I would imagine that, maybe like like a Brady Russell is a guy that people want to bring back on an RFA tender because he's a great special teams player. The team seems to really like him. I think Cody White could be another guy, like a special teams player that gets an RFA tender. I'll give those guys that deal. And then I think if you're looking at this, you probably want Jaron Reed on this team. Um, I think that's probably what you do. I don't really know where he's gonna land. He would probably want somewhere around like a 2 year deal worth probably 16 to 20 annually. I mean, not annually, 16 to 20 in total, which would be about 8 to 10 a year. I think probably you could split the difference there and get somewhere like a 2 year deal worth around $18 million. So we'll just do that straight up. I'm not really much of a contract expert, but that's what we'll say he gets. That now brings the cap number down to just under 20 million with all those tenders and with those signings. And once again, the team, I did a straight like 9 million, 9 million, 9 million. The team might do, hey, Jaron, you get paid uh, 13 million next year, but you only get paid six this year. And Ernest, hey, you get paid 12 million next year, but you're going to get paid 5 million this year. Regardless, I think that's what I would do. And then, that kind of leaves you, if you want to get creative with these contracts, restructure, do things that I didn't do, you can realistically get into the range of probably $30 million in cap space to get guys that are solely outside of the team. So that is kind of my look on players that are on the Seahawks, guys that I would cut, keep, trade regardless, and guys that I would restructure, extend, things like that. Let me know if you guys disagree with anything that I said in the comments below. I do respond to comments, so please leave your thoughts. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoy your day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.